go ahead and count 10 for me one more time?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, first question, an easy one. Can you please tell us your name and what kind of work you do?
My name is Glenn Keller. I'm a hardware engineer.
Okay. What sort of hardware have you worked on in your career?
Well, I started out with wave tanks, ocean wave energy, and after that I worked on the Amiga, where I did a chip called Paula, which did the audio UARTs and various loose ends. After that, I went on to video games at a company called 3DO, and most recently I've been at a company called Foveon for a number of years, which makes an unusual image sensor.
Okay. So we'll probably do some repeating,
Yeah, that's
I might
fine.
ask you the first question.
And you can ask me to clarify and stuff too,
Absolutely.
and I'll expand on different pieces.
Yeah, like maybe you could say what was your role in the Amiga's development?
Yeah, my main role in the Amiga's development was the designer of the audio chip, which also had, like I said, the loose ends, the UART, the joystick control inputs, all that kind of stuff, all the leftovers.
Was there anything special about the audio chip that you designed? I mean, obviously a lot of people use the Amiga a lot for sound work. What was special about the Paula chip?
Well, at the time it was, I didn't actually understand it because I didn't know much about the PC industry at that point. It was my first chip I had ever worked on. But it had more bits, and we had, the original design was an 8-bit audio design, but at the last minute I had some ideas and Jay let me follow them, and we ended up with an 8-bit DAC and then a 6-bit pulse modulation. So we ended up with quite a much bigger dynamic range than anybody else had out there. So a lot of people used it for sound. And we put a filter because we couldn't go all that fast with the 3 megahertz clock, but a lot of people took it off and got a lot better sound than we had ever anticipated.
Okay, hey, you're doing great. Take a deep breath, relax. You look a little nervous. It's fine. Yeah, just
Okay.
Deep breath. But you're doing great.
Okay.
So when you say that the Paula had more bits, what does it mean that the chip had more bits? Like for the layperson who might not understand that.
It means that you can get a better dynamic range of the sound than you could with a fewer number of bit system. Like the sound will sound scratchy if you turn down the volume, for example, and it doesn't reproduce the lower. The ratio of the biggest sound you can make to the smallest that you can create reasonably was pretty small. I think at that time the PC had a 1-bit sound and the Mac was an 8-bit DAC, I believe, at that point.
And what was the Paula?
It had 14 bits.
14 bits.
Yeah.
So I mean, in everyday computer use, what does that advantage translate to? Would you say?
It translates really to where you can create sound that's more true to life.
Okay. Well, what was the original market for the Amiga? Why did you guys design it?
That's a good question. Like I said, I came in as a neophyte to this, and I didn't really know any of this stuff. But later I realized I had no idea of really what was going on. I was just doing the work. But later on I realized that it was really, in terms of concept, far ahead of other stuff that was shippable at that time. In that you could do graphics in real time. That was one of the main goals. Then you could do multimedia with it. That was one of the goals. And the other thing was to be able to run and one of the key items was the thing to be able to run more than one program at once, which was quite common in Unix systems at that time, but unheard of in PC.
Okay, so actually, yeah, that brings us to a good question. What is it called when a computer can handle more than one application at a time? Can you tell us what it is? What's multitasking?
You mean what is it?
Yeah, what is multitasking?
Well, it's just that you can have your email up at the same time as you're browsing the web.
Was multitasking common back in the 1980s there on a home computer?
No, as far as I don't know that there were any other ones that could do it at that time. There might have been, but I hadn't heard of any.
Nice. Okay. So, who was Jay Miner? You mentioned Jay earlier. Who's Jay Miner?
Well, Jay was my boss, one of the certainly the key chip designer and inspiration for this machine. And he was a very interesting guy, and as is well known by people who knew him. But he was just one of the most relaxed guys I ever met. He had the quality of being one of the best bosses that I've ever had, and always tried to emulate him when I'm trying to teach young kids how to do stuff. But he had a way of just gently pushing you in the right direction without really telling you what to do, but just kind of edging you over to the right way that was going to make things work better. And it was quite brilliant the way he did it, and a lot of times I would be working on something, and then later on I would realize that he had done that, and that now things were working better. But I always remember the first time I met Jay. I had just come to San Francisco, was out looking for a job, and I had some other offers, and I get to the Sunnyvale train station, and I get out, and there's this big Lincoln Continental, and this guy with a big smile and a beard and a little dog hanging out the other side of the car, and I thought, this guy looks pretty interesting. I'd like to work for him. And so it happened.
That's cool. Yeah, that's great. I feel like you're a little warmed up now. Yeah, just a reminder, as much as you can, try to keep on. You'll be talking to this right now.
Okay, maybe that's part of the trouble. I don't really feel that nervous, but I'm not quite sure what to look at.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll just look at that, the black eye there.
Cool. This is great. I haven't had anybody that can talk about Jay yet, so
Mm-hmm.
they've all been just Commodore. Who else did you work with out there in California on the Amiga?
Well, of course, I worked with Dave Needle and RJ. Those were the main people. There was a guy what was that? The guy that did the video chip. I think his name was Dave, but I haven't seen him for many decades. But worked with him. I worked with, of course, Dale, Kodiak, a bunch of the other guys. Bob Pariseau, who was head of the software team. There was
That's fine. Yeah, we can stop there.
yeah, I don't know what you.
No, sure. Yeah, I'm trying to dig into your brain. Okay, so who's R.J. Michael?
Well, he was a kind of a bolt of lightning that keeps on happening. He's a very interesting guy. He came from Chicago and worked on a lot of the software aspects of the Amiga. Very sharp mind and made everything very fun. He had an incredible ability to make things interesting and fun. And he and Dave Needle worked together very well. Dave Needle, at that time, I believe he started as a contractor at Amiga, and he did a lot of the circuit boards and stuff. And later got into the chip things because he knew a lot more than a lot of other people.
Okay, who was Dave Needle?
He's Oh man, there's a lot to be said about Dave Needle.
Hey,
That
we
he-
got to try.
He's a very deeply
Could
thought.
you say Dave Needle was?
Hmm?
When you answer, could you say Dave
Oh.
Needle was? So that I'll
Well,
know
he
who he is. You know what I mean?
Let's see, it's hard to say. Dave Needle's a very deeply thoughtful guy, but on the surface you might think he's just frivolous because he does crazy things and likes to jump around and so forth. But there's a tremendous amount going on in him. Very, very smart guy. I've learned a lot from him over the years. We worked together, again, at a company called 3DO years later. And he's an incredible hardware, firmware, anything designer, generally. Not so much software, but he's done that too. But he has a way of thinking about the core of what needs to be done and getting right to it. So it's very easy for me to work with him and over the years.
That's great. Yeah, we're going to be interviewing him out there.
Yeah.
Who was Dale Luck?
Dale Luck was oh boy, Dale. Dale Luck is a guy that likes oh boy. He's a fun guy. I didn't know him as well as Dave so much, but he's a pretty interesting guy. He provided like a lot of the it's hard to say. I don't actually know that much of what he wrote, but he was certainly a key part of the software team at Amiga in the early days. And I still remember we had a little trouble once. We had a oh boy. We had a dress down Friday, and what do you dress down to when you normally come to work in shorts and a t-shirt? Well, he came in his bathrobe. So that was a fun little thing. And that room was always quite a hot spot. We were always in a big hurry, and there was this dark software room with 20 people sitting around in it, all trying to get the thing working, and a couple of little lights from some LEDs on the prototype, and just an intensity that was hard to match.
That's fantastic. That little vignette right there is priceless. As much as the technical details, like we're trying to tell the human story, of how this thing was actually given birth.
Yeah.
So perhaps so you can't really speak too much of the business goings on of the company. Like you said, you just kind of came in blind. This is the first chip you designed. Could you speak to Atari, the role of Atari in the development and how all that went down? And
yeah, I can talk about some of that.
Can you really? I would really appreciate it, because that's a story that I kind of find confusing.
It is confusing.
Yeah. So what can you tell me about those business dealings?
Well, the business dealings. I'll start back at the beginning for the pieces I know, and at the beginning, what Amiga was making was a surfboard, which had some similarity to the one that's Nintendo. Of course, much less sophisticated because you couldn't do nearly as much with electronics in those days. But it was a little board that you sat on, and there was a surfing game that went with it to go with one of the games that was out at that point. And that was the cover story. Underneath, we were building this new computer with chips and things. So, a guy named Dave Morse was an incredible business guy that kind of arranged this whole thing. And, well, he wanted to hear about the Atari part. Well, the Atari part was Amiga was going along, and we were trying to make this thing work, and we had prototypes running, and we were running out of money. So how are we going to get the thing into production? Well, anyway, this is the part, that this is my impression of it. Anyway, you can talk to some other people and see. Some people might have more deep inner knowledge. So we had made some deals with Atari to fund us for a while to help get the thing into production. And as time went on, it looked like what was going to happen, at least to me, was that we were going to run out of money. They were going to, pick up all the intellectual property and run with it. That's how it appeared to me. Anyway. So at the last minute, suddenly Commodore came in and bought us out with a much better deal. And that was pretty much it. It was a pretty good deal for us. In fact, an incredible deal. And Dave had somehow pulled this off. I don't really know much about the details of what happened there. I was just designing the chip, but it was pretty incredible how he managed to pull that off.
Yeah, that's cool. That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, you executed that beautifully. Like, we need, it doesn't even matter, like, if, you have all the inside deals, on a broad sense, though, as long as we get, some people to kind of tell how that story went, that in a simple way.
Yeah.
That's really important. Okay. Going along. Got Daniel Block, Toast Archie Michael.
Yeah, there's a lot more to be said about those guys, but I don't know.
Well, hopefully we're going to get them. Yeah,
you get them, and you'll get a much better sense of who they are from talking to them.
Oh boy, I'm getting a sense of who RJ is. Let me tell you, because like I've been trying to get a hold. I've been a little bit back and forth with him for about 2 months, trying to arrange some kind of interview, and I stopped hearing from him, and so I tried contacting him through Facebook, which is how we originally contacted, and he got really angry at me. But I'm like, well, you've stopped talking to me. Like, I'm just trying to get a hold of you. He's like, well, I've sent you emails. Well, he's got a problem with his email server. So I don't know, like, when he's responded or not. And I'm like, well, you could just call me and we could just hash it out real quick. And that's been a big... So.
He's always got so much going on.
Yeah, I figure he's just a super busy guy,
Yeah.
But he's made a great offer of getting together some industry people out in California where we could probably shoot a few people who could maybe speak to the... the market for personal computers at the time and other aspects of the Amiga. So
yeah,
I really hope it happens. But yeah, he got mad at me. I was like, oh boy, I do not want to piss this guy off. But then, yeah, right after he was mad at me, he was like, okay, let's have a party.
That sounds like RJ.
So,
he is hard to get in touch with, though.
Yeah. Well, it'll happen eventually. I'm hoping it happens in a couple weeks when I go out, but if not, that's where I'm going to get Dave Needle and hopefully Dale Luck at the same time. Okay. So, what other machines was the Amiga competing with in the marketplace? Would you say? Who was the Amiga's competition?
Okay, the Amiga's competition was a little bit, I guess really the closest thing to it was the Mac, which was the black and white Mac was just now starting to come out at that point. But really, in terms of what the Amiga was good at, there wasn't any other computer that could touch it in graphics at that time, at that price point. So a lot of people used it for sound and graphics, making and generating and making video games. So I think it kind of got known as a game machine then at the beginning, but people also used it for video production. But since I wasn't in that world, I didn't know like the evolution of it at that point. The other thing, because I remember when we were talking about the Amiga as a basic computer, as a main PC, is that one of the big things that everybody was worried about was exactly what happened, is the low-price PC clones, and that it would be very tough to compete in that market.
Exactly. Okay, when you say the low-price PC clones, like, I guess you'd be talking, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I want to see if you could rephrase it at all.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, see if you
one of the things we were worried about when the Amiga went to market was, at that point, there was the IBM PC. It was made by IBM. That's what there was. But there was this prospect and the startings of what became known as PC clones, which is other companies making the same operating system, this, Microsoft operating system, the same kind of hardware, compatible hardware, that would basically become the PC industry that we know today. And we were worried that would undercut the price that we could make the Amiga for, which of course was true.
Beautiful. Did you think, what was your gut feelings about the Amiga's future after the launch?
It's interesting. After the Amiga's launch, I wasn't quite sure what it would do. There were some things that I was pretty worried about in terms of basic computer operation. One of them was that the operating system, due to various time constraints, felt really slow. It was quite sad because when you did a directory on the disk,
Variety of things. We do employee broadcasts that go out to everybody in the company, and those will feature the CEO of Comcast, sometimes Ralph Roberts, the founder of Comcast, other top management guys, and they'll get on here and do like a little talk show about the state of the company, new products that are coming out and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of different video messaging that we do out of here, and they also, let's say a politician needs a favor and needs like a little commercial shot or something, they'll probably work something out. We'll shoot that in here, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm really in the belly of the beast here. Like I'll come in here sometimes not even knowing, and I'll see like Shaq, or I got to see Oprah. Arizona at this conference, and stars will just be in here. Usually a lot of people from our content entities, Ryan Seacrest. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then you also see a lot of the kind of like business and political stuff that is going on in a company like this. It's just like wow.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
It's been really fantastic and eye-opening.
How long have you worked here?
About 5 years now.
Okay.
I bounced around for a little bit. I went to school here in Philly. I'm not from here. I'm from North Carolina.
Oh, you are? Where?
I'm from Raleigh-Durham area.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a niece, actually two nieces. One's just finished school at Chapel Hill, and the other one lives there.
Oh, cool. I love Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
I was just there a little bit ago. Still go down and visit. My girlfriend's from there, too, and she got family stuff. But, I wanted to get away and kind of come see what the city was like.
Yeah, well, this is the classic Northeast city.
Sure is. And it was kind of thing, when I got out of college, the internet was still kind of, not really the thing people used to advertise jobs.
Right.
I had a real hard time finding a job out of school, and so I bounced around for a little bit.
And
then once the internet, people started posting TV and all kind of jobs online, it really took off for me, and I saw this job here at Comcast after I kind of already had my foot in the door, and I was like, let's just go back to Philly. So they hired me, like, I applied right before the deadline for submissions, and they called me immediately, and I took the job away from somebody else they already picked out. So
wow.
I felt kind of good about that when I found out they were really impressed. So
oh, that's cool.
yeah, it's cool.
And where did you go to school?
University of the Arts on Broad and Pine.
Okay.
Yeah, or they moved down the street a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be Philadelphia College of Arts.
Looks like you made a really good choice. Whoever gave you the advice
Oh,
must have really known you.
About not going to school for computer graphics?
Yeah.
I agree, because he said, look, don't go to school to learn software. You can teach yourself software, just read the manual. You want to learn concepts, design concepts, techniques, and things that are going to put you ahead of some guy that just knows software.
Right, yeah.
And, it wasn't great. It was life-changing advice, and I actually barely knew the guy. I was just kind of picking his brain.
That happens sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, he was working at a small production studio using an Amiga to design 3D animation, and he had a video toaster that he was working on. I said, well, how'd you get into this field? And he laid all that out for me, how he did it. So
yeah. I think the toaster sold an awful lot of Amigas.
it sure did, man. I was using a toaster up until the year 2000. still the most inexpensive and most effective way to get it done.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we, there's a couple things that came along. Actually, there was a machine called a Casablanca, which was made by a German company that actually was basically an Amiga inside.
Oh, really?
And that was one of the first desktop video editing solutions.
Oh.
I looked at the fonts and things like, man, this reminds me of the Amiga. It was an Amiga inside. No mention of it anywhere.
Oh, it just was called something else.
It's called a Casablanca. And yeah, they somehow, I don't know, been able to like use that hardware to create this desktop video editing thing. And that was the first time I saw people editing video on a desktop thing, with no decks or anything involved.
That's interesting because I know a German company did. I think a German company owned Commodore for a while.
Yeah,
And
S-Common.
Yeah, and the Amigas did very well in Germany, from what I heard too.
They did, and we're going to be going to Germany. We've already got some interviews, some people in Germany for the film. Shot by just kind of a user person, but I'm going out there myself and I'm going to lug all my gear out there and try and get the professional interview shot out there. So.
No, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be probably February, March.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother's out there.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
In Germany? No kidding.
Yeah. A place called Wiesbaden.
Wow. Yeah, my girlfriend's family is actually from Germany, so
Mhm.
we've got some contacts.
Yeah.
Okay, deep breath. We're going to go back to the Amiga launch.
The Amiga launch.
So, do you have a personal story of the Amiga launch that you'd like to share with us?
Well, let's talk the Amiga launch. I remember it was very exciting to go, I think it was New York, in some big hall that we went, and then there was a big screen and all these demos, and it was just really exciting to be there. Wasn't really involved in the organization of it. By that point, the hardware work had been long done, so we were happy to be invited there and to see the launch of it. So it was a lot of fun for me.
You're not going to believe this, but I could actually hear your fingers rubbing against that paper cup.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's just because the microphone is pointing.
No, I can do that again if you want.
Yeah, could you set the scene for us a little bit? Like, what was going on there at the Amiga launch?
Well, the Amiga launch, in terms of our work of development, by the time of the Amiga launch, a lot of that was over. We were in the tweaking mode. I had gone out to the factory in Japan where they were making the Amigas once or twice at that point to solve different problems that we had cropped up. And things were, if I remember correctly, kind of quieting down for us in terms of the development, or at least the hardware guys. So it was very cool to be invited to New York, to fly there, to sit in this big concert hall with all these people and watch the launch happen, and all these big guys up on stage and showing the different windows and all coming up and going down at once. I remember that. I think Dale had set that up, the little demo where there's 20 windows came up, and then somewhat later it showed a blank screen that looked like the PCs of the time. That was pretty cool. And I remember Andy Warhol was there, and he had done some kind of picture with it. And the funny thing about that, and then of course he had to say how great it was, but the funny thing about that is sometime later I ran into an autobiography of him on somewhere. And I went and looked up that day, and he had said that, well, he had to say it was good, basically. But that was a very interesting thing that I just happened to run across. I don't know, must have been 20 years later.
Wow. He did like them, I am pretty sure. Like, after he died, they found artwork that he had done saved on floppies.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
because he had to say that particular one was good, but I don't think he actually thought so at the time from what he wrote.
Sure. Yeah, actually, I'll need to look that up. So.
Yeah, look that up. It's been. Oh, you should. Yeah, you should be. That's right. These days, you should be able to find that without any trouble.
Oh yeah, internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all there. Okay, watch. Just okay. This isn't the question. So, what was the deal? You went from Amiga over to Commodore. How long after the launch did you move over?
Oh, I don't remember how long it was after the launch after there was, let's see, there was the launch and there was Amiga and Commodore, and at some point things started to deteriorate in terms of the relationships between the two companies. And Jay was put in charge of the place for a while, I remember, but I don't remember why anymore, but for some reason it was time to close it down. There was probably some politics going on at the top levels that I didn't know anything about. But I was there. Remember, a few of us were there, 3 or 4 of us were there to turn off the lights when the Amiga place finally closed down. And what happened was that not too many of us really wanted to move to Pennsylvania. So most people like me, or some people stayed on as contractors, some people went on to find other jobs and do other things. And then there were some great guys at Commodore who carried the thing on, some great engineers there that worked on the thing and actually started a new generation of chips for the Amiga, which never made it into the market. And I did done some work on those. There was a guy called Jim Redfield who was head of that project. He's a great guy.
Actually, can I ask you to set the water cup down?
Yeah, I better.
It's such a sensitive mic.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, who was the CEO of Commodore when you started there?
I don't actually I don't remember the guy's name.
Uh-huh.
The guy who was the CEO of Commodore, I don't remember his name.
Okay.
It seems to me, I seem to remember it was some.
The guy who was at the launch?
Probably, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Because at that point he was really flying high, I remember, and Commodore was doing incredibly well. The 64, the Commodore 64 had been a tremendous success, and I can see why. The guys that put that together somehow managed to make a very inexpensive computer that had a tremendous amount of power for the price. And guys like Jeff Porter and Hedley Davis were instrumental in that, and they took the Amiga over and did a lot of the same things to that and made it much more affordable than the original design. And I was amazed at what they managed to do. The people at the group that I was with at Amiga, we could design stuff, but our ability to make the thing inexpensive and affordable and mass producible our knowledge in that area was extremely weak. And I remember being quite amazed when I saw what they had done with the Amiga 500. And it was an amazing job.
So, what was it like working for Commodore? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. No. I'm just trying to. It's been a long time. I'm trying to piece together how I felt.
Yeah. Take your time. I'm sorry. I don't mean to rush.
Okay.
Yeah, going back quite a ways.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, after Amiga closed down, I worked as a contractor for Commodore for a while, on and off. And I quite enjoyed that. In fact, I actually met my wife out here one time when I was was working for them. That was the best part. But I worked with like Jim Redfield. We were, for the most part, a lot of the work I was doing a second generation of Amiga chips. And the guy I mainly worked for was named Jim Redfield, and he did a good job of organizing the team at Commodore and picking the pieces that made sense and improving all of the different aspects of the chips. And I had worked on a number of, actually all three of the chips in that part, because a lot of the other people had moved on at that point. I didn't really get involved much with the politics. There was this, I remember there was various grumbling about the politics, but I think that's true in any company. And I just worked, you know, I was a contractor. I came in, I did my work, I enjoyed the engineers and the other people I worked with, and then I went back to California. So that was pretty much my involvement in the, you know, the post-Amiga days.
Gotcha. So you were not there in the 90s when Commodore shut down?
No.
Then you got back to California?
Oh yeah, I never was a, well, I think
You were a contractor.
I was a contractor for quite a number of years there. Or I don't know how many years, but and it was funny. I went into that building the other day, or I guess about a year ago now, because I live in Westchester now, which is where Commodore was, and the building is now the QVC building. And so it was kind of strange to go into that building with the same entrance and the same doors where I had worked with all these engineers and see showrooms and whole different feeling of things. So it was pretty interesting.
That's great. Thank you for saying that, because I'm going to go get shots of the building soon.
Okay.
And yeah, you know who owns QVC?
Oh.
Those guys.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, Comcast owns it.
Okay.
I didn't even really realize till recently.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's them. Yeah, it's all going to be Comcast eventually. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to go get some shots of that. Of course, we've got the infamous Dave Haney video that he shot on the final days that we're going to work into that segment.
Yeah. Yeah, I live just down the street from there, actually, so
Oh, wow.
give me a call if you want to come by.
Oh, great. Yeah, what were you doing there?
Oh,
At QVC, you said you went inside?
oh, I just went in. I just wanted to, I thought I might get a present for my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of wanted to see what the building looked like.
Oh, is it actually like a retail thing? You could go in and buy
They have a little shop in there in the back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, yeah, the one thing about working with the Commodore guys that I remember really strongly is they were very inclusive. They tried to get, in addition to working, when I was there as a contractor, they always tried to get me to go to the volleyball games and include me in all of the social things. And it was a very strong social group there at Commodore in those days. And we had a lot of fun. I played a lot of volleyball, did a bunch of stuff with the different people that I had worked with. And anyway, it was socially, it was a very fun group, very cohesive.
Cool, thanks. Yep, we've got a slot that that'll go into. When we're almost, we're probably about 2/3 of the way through, maybe.
Okay.
Just so you know. And I'm gonna wrap up with some. I've got probably several hundred people on my Facebook for the film.
Right. Okay.
And I put out questions to them like, what would you ask Glenn if you had the chance?
Oh,
So
okay.
I've got some really hardcore chip questions that
Oh.
you might want. I'm gonna just. I don't even know if I could use them in the film, but I'll ask you anyway.
Okay.
But let me see if there's anything else. I know you can't speak to this too well, but I would like to get your opinion.
Go ahead.
Are you aware that people are still using Amigas?
No.
You're not really.
Well, I I didn't know they were actually using them. I still have one that my dad used for a while, and it was in in his house, and he gave it to me just about a year ago. So I have an Amiga 500 from that. That's what I've got. I know Dale's got a lot of Amigas. I don't know what he's been doing with them lately, but I didn't know people were actually still using the original Amigas.
Yeah, are you aware of the fact that people are creating new computers calling it Amiga?
Well, I wasn't really aware that people were making new computers and calling them Amiga until Zach told me. But it's amazing. It looks like there's not just one group, but several. It's a little bit strange after all these years.
Cool, that's enough on that. It is strange. So yeah, enough on that.
Yeah, what I'm interested in is what is it still in that design and that structure that people find that is still useful and helpful to use? I'd be very interested to know that.
Do you know, I think that's a question, and I really in the film hope to delve into the idea that people identify themselves via the technology they choose to use.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a Mac person, I'm a PC. Well, there you go, that illustrates it. I'm an Amiga person. And that's what people used to say. You know what I mean? They, I didn't care about any of the other computers at all. I wanted nothing to do with them. All I cared about was Amiga because I felt that it just fit my personality for whatever reason.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it did things that I couldn't do on those other computers, and I felt like it gave me a shot. And yeah, sound chip, amazing. I was on vacation in Florida, I think 1989 or 90.
Okay.
And we were just visiting relatives and stuff, but we're staying at a hotel. And we went down to the lobby the next morning after we checked in, and here was an Amiga convention that I didn't even know was going on.
Oh, and you just happened to show up at it.
There. I'm like, Dad, let me check this out. And I had actually just got my Amiga like a few months previous, and I was going through it, looking at all of this stuff going on. They had live video demos where people were doing blue screen, green screen stuff live, and this guy was playing a MIDI guitar, which I didn't even know existed. So,
oh, right.
Yeah.
In '89, MIDI was still pretty new.
Yeah, this was a guitar, and so I was just walking around. Put your name in, an address, and you can win a prize type thing. And I was just filling out random cards, and a couple of months. Actually, it was like, I guess 2 or 3 weeks later, someone called me up and saying, hey, you won all this free software, free music software. And I'd never even thought of trying music, and they sent me the software, and I was able to create really cool sounding music with the Amiga just in my bedroom, and it was like, man, you know what I mean?
This is fun.
This is heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't do that with any other thing at that time.
You sure couldn't. And like Jeff Porter sums it up. Like, if you were a guy like me, this was it. Like, it was your dream come true. So that's what it was like. It was really exciting. And guys like me, we tend to be just real fixated on the stuff that we love. And like, here was this thing that's just going to do it for you, And it really, it was a great time. But I've still got songs I made on the Amiga recorded on tape.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe the sampling, So actually, why don't we turn to some of those questions about chip and sampling? Hard to read here. And if you can't answer them, just don't even worry.
Okay.
Were you aware that the chip was pushed to 14-bit sound? Well, obviously you were. Good enough to play MP3s.
Good enough to play MP3s?
Yeah, they're saying that. Was he aware that the chip was pushed to 14-bit sound, good enough to play MP3s on my Amiga 1200?
No, I wasn't. Well, I knew that the chip had 14-bit sound, but I didn't know about MP3s or what the sound quality is expected out of MP3. So I don't know. That's pretty cool, though. It sounds like that nobody had really expected it to be able to do that, and that's very good.
seeing that the Commodore 64 was driven by the marvelous SID chip made by Bob Jans, who departed from Commodore before the Amiga day, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Was it ever, the Commodore 65 prototype uses dual, I don't know, what are these, SIDs, SID chips?
Okay.
So the sound chip was pretty much in Commodore heritage. Was
Mm.
it ever considered to use or update that SID design or use an Ensoniq chip like the Apple IIgs or any other third-party one for the Amiga? Yeah. Does that make any sense?
Well, I guess the SID chip was I didn't know anything about in terms of the sound chips, I didn't know anything about the Commodore 64 when I worked on the Amiga. We designed the chip from scratch. Well, I think it was called the Paula in the end. It started out being Porsche, and then we had the improved audio, and we called that Paula, which was, we'd gone from an 8-bit design to a 14-bit design, which basically using pulse modulation. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. Let me.
It's okay.
But okay, I know where I was headed with this. So anyway, we didn't know about the Commodore 64 chip at that point, and we didn't at that point using a proprietary chip like an Ensoniq or something was just too expensive, because we could. Making the Amiga chip, it wasn't just audio. It had 5 or 6 of the other I/O functions in it as well, so that all in one part. So that made it cheaper to make. But there was a little story about the audio chip that might be interesting to people who are like the technical aspects. When we got the part back, it was done with resistors by matching 8 bits. You know, basically the 8-bit part was done by matching transistor sizes to each other. And when the thing first came back, it wasn't quite monotonic. So I sat down one day and took like 10 chips and measured each one of them one at a time very carefully. Took the average of how far off each one it was from monoticity, and then we tweaked the size of the transistors just a little bit. And that helped a lot. It got a lot closer to the analog monoticity that we were looking for after that.
Cool. When the ECS and AGA chipsets were developed, how come they improved the graphics but not the sound as it was?
ECS?
Yeah, I guess the enhanced chipset.
Oh.
And then there was the AGA chipset.
AGA.
Yeah, I think it meant like advanced graphic adapter or something that
Is that an Amiga thing?
It was, yeah. It was,
Okay.
Early 90s type new chip designs.
Now, I don't.
So you were working at Commodore. You probably weren't following it. Right?
Well, let's see. When did I work at Commodore? Let's see. I met Mary in '87.
I remember hearing a lot of talk about these chipsets in, say, 91, 92.
That must have happened after. Yeah, that must have happened after I did work on a chipset, and we had, proper 16-bit audio on it at that point, and some much faster disk controllers and that kind of thing with different designs. But that one, I don't know. Somebody must have done a different one after that or changed it or something. I kind of lost track of that.
Why does Paula have only 4 DMA sound channels, which consumes 4 memory cycles, while the 8 sprites of Denise consume 16 memory cycles alone? Wouldn't it be wiser to have 6 sprites Denise with 8 channels Paula instead?
Sorry, say that again?
I may have to read this one. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I think I know what they mean. 6 sprites Denise with 8 channels. Oh, I see. Well, this has to do with the priority. Okay.
Go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
Okay? There is a question about the trade-off, really, effectively, the trade-off between memory cycles used for sprites in the video and memory cycles used for the audio, so the DMA cycles. And the basic trade-off is video always takes a lot more cycles in general than audio. And we weren't really aiming for hi-fi audio. We were aiming for reasonable audio. So with reasonable audio, and you're always push for bandwidth on the video, even to do the simplest things, because you have to do it so quickly. So that's really why we chose the 4 channels. I mean, that's what I would guess. I mean, I don't remember the details of those choices, quite frankly.
Paula is an amazingly flexible synth chip, but is really only used for sample playback. If I recall correctly, it can do 3-operator FM and AM at the same time if you set it up correctly. Is Glenn sad that no one ever explored this aspect of his chip?
What?
I know.
Okay.
I know.
3-operator.
FM and AM at the same time if you set it up correctly.
I don't
So
know.
you're
I
not
don't know
that
what that means.
Yeah, I don't either.
3-operator. I wonder what he means by 3-operator.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, I see the same thing with my other questions.
Okay. I don't know what 3-operator AM and FM is. It may have been DMA modulation of the sound, but I don't know exactly what they mean.
Okay. So we'll just kind of touch on some basic stuff. How did you become interested in computers? Remember back like when you were a kid?
Let me think about this one for a while. Oh, yeah, I can tell you when I got interested in computers. Now, that was the first time. I was trying to think if there was a time before. I became interested in computers in college. We were working, I was in the ocean engineering department at MIT, and we were designing a little underwater robot we were trying to make it autonomous and go out underwater and measure things and come back and that kind of stuff. And so we had to build a computer for this because the power of the current, there wasn't much in the way of microprocessors, and the power they took was much too high. So we were building a computer out of CMOS, and a guy in the electrical engineering department had done the computer for his thesis, and then it wasn't quite working when he left, so I had to make it work. So that's how I got started with computers. And the way I learned about indirect addressing is I had to make the indirect addressing instruction work, and so I had to understand what it was first. So that was how I first got into computers.
Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Well, let me think. I told you the Jay story, meeting him. There was something else that I thought of on the way in. Well, I think what mainly I was thinking on the way in was Headley's a lot funnier than I am, so he'll be a good guy to talk to.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I can't wait to get him.
Yeah.
It'll be a piece of cake then.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do this on any weekends.
Yeah, okay. Let me think through things.
Yeah.
There's nothing that comes to mind. Probably as soon as I leave, I'll think of something else. But
Sure. Any funny anecdote or kind of a tense time?
oh yeah, I got a good one.
All right.
This is one of my favorite ones that I like to tell. We had built prototypes of the Amiga with printed circuit boards and standard IC chips available at the time and wired them up in wire wrap fashion. That's how we built the prototype. And there were 3 boards, one for each of the chips. I think Dale might have one of those at this point. I'm not sure. But anyway, we went to a show and we demonstrated, it was one of these shows where everything was under wraps and you put the thing under the table, the huge prototype thing under the table because the chips hadn't come back yet. And everything worked fine. We came back from the show, and about a week or 3 or 4 days later, the thing stopped working. In some aspect, something to do with the graphics. I don't remember quite what anymore. But so we're trying to figure out what went wrong. And eventually Dave Needle figures out that there was a wire disconnected in one of the graphics things, and it couldn't possibly have worked. He connected it up, it started working again, and we're like, how did that ever work in the demo? It was like...
A loose wire. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's cute.
That was a little story that I remember.
Yeah, we could be done if you want. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Did you have any interaction with any other, notable computer industry people at the time, or in any capacity, or did you make a group? Did you ever cross paths with, any of the Apple guys, or?
Not really.
Really?
No, I know that a bunch of the people did go. Well, actually, I don't know. I think Sam was the audio guru guy, and he went off. I don't know where he went after that, but he went to a bunch of places. But he really knew what he was talking about in terms of the sound. He was.
Sam who?
I can't remember. Why can't I remember his last name?
He was another chip designer?
No, he was the software guy for the sound.